What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the debut album by the indie pop and indie rock band from the UK. They're called Fickle Friends. The album is called You Are Someone Else. And wait, you thought I was gonna go the entire video without addressing these? They're just readers, and there's no way I'm gonna deal with the glare for the entire video. Goodbye! I hope I didn't break those. Fickle Friends have been a band for a while now. They've been putting out EPs and music for the past half decade or so, and then they got their major break when they signed to Polydor Records, and that's something that excited me because I do like Polydor as a record label, and I like what this band has to offer. I had really only heard snippets of their music before I checked out this album, and I had honestly kind of forgotten about them until, by chance of fate, I was just scrolling through the new release section on Spotify last week while I was waiting for a video to render, and lo and behold, I struck gold. Let me ask you this. Are you a fan of indie rock, indie pop, alternative, Paramore, the 1975, 80s music, bands of those veins that I just named? If so, then it's going to be very hard for you to dislike this album. I wasn't completely swept off my feet right away, but this is one of those albums that presents itself to you. You get the idea of the sound that they're going for, those thick looming bass lines that really just slyly open up some of these cuts and go in the background, and you just kind of have to meditate on it and let it process and stew in your brain. And they also have those big drum rhythms, a lot of really catchy knocking synthesizers, and also their vocalist Natty does a fantastic job. She has a great voice, very charismatic as a singer. I get into her energy a whole lot, and this album as a whole, You Are Someone Else, it almost talks about being uncomfortable or else unhappy really no matter what the situation, but trying to navigate the waters and make things work. It's a process. It tells a story, and I love an album that can do that and also provide little snapshots as clues as to where they were along the album's recording process, because as you probably know if you follow this band at all, or if you don't, then let me fill you in, some of these tracks actually appeared on older EPs like Glue and even Swim that got re-released as a single this year. But that track in particular, it's been around a while, both of those have, but they also wound up on this album. Then you've got newer cuts like Say No More, Hard to Be Myself, Paris, all fantastic tracks, but they were made at different times because this album has been in the works for a while now. What could be a hang-up for some people is the fact that they do wear their influences heavily on their sleeve, and it's something that I was able to personally shake off, but I think some people are going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh, this track sounds straight up like the 1975, or this reminds me too much of After Laughter by Paramore. I know it's kind of a stretch with that comparison, but I've heard some people saying it in forums and in YouTube comments, that sort of thing, on their official music videos, and I don't think it's a fair comparison, at least in terms of Paramore, but it's going to be presented. You have to go into this album with kind of a loose, understanding mindset, like this is their debut album. They are probably going to expand on this sound in the future, but it's not that they're playing it safe here, it's just that they're having fun. They're cranking out the tracks while still having emotion and heart and depth to them as well, and I think, honestly, they kind of nailed what they were going for. And I know I recently criticized the band Pale Waves, also from the UK, for being too similar to the 1975, but there's a difference between having that influence and it being noticeable and it just being a straight up replica, because I feel like that's what Pale Waves were. This is the correct version of what Pale Waves were trying to do. Good job, Fickle Friends. Let's go ahead and break down some specific songs, because I think I've done a good enough job at giving you the overall vibe and aura of this album. If you're into indie pop, 80s, and some of the bands that I've listed, then yeah, you understand the sound that I'm describing. Many of the songs on You Are Someone Else use this great build to them, and they're able to utilize maybe a little bit of an airy atmosphere in their first verse and work their way into a more explosive and kind of groundbreaking chorus. And I say groundbreaking in the sense that it's just kind of opening up something that wasn't there before. Not that nothing that they're doing hasn't been done before, because obviously it has, but that doesn't stop it from being a ton of fun. Tracks I'm loving on this record include the guitar-led Swim, which I absolutely love the chorus on that one. The guitar is ecstasy, and I find myself just kind of soloing along, wanting to play the guitar to that track. Glue is sticky as hell, obviously, as the title would imply, and that one has been stuck in my head since the first time I heard it. Tracks like that really prove that they do have staying power to them as a group. Heartbroken is a great relationship-centric track that has been done before, sure, but they're able to put a fresh spin on it, and I really like the lyrical perspective there. She sings a line on Heartbroken that I really love. You think everything sucks, but really couldn't give two fucks. It immediately got stuck in my head, and I love the kind of chiming synth that backs that one up before it gets to that big chorus. Hard to Be Myself is a great track that I find myself drawn to because I can kind of relate to a lot of the lyrical content there, and this track seems to be like, you know, fuck it. I'm gonna get drunk. I don't really care. I'm tired of having to put myself out there and trying to be something else. So tonight, what the fuck? It's a great track and kind of anthemic without really trying to be. Bite has a lot of dominance to it. I love the swirling feel that I get sucked into on the chorus of that track. It's a mix of synthesizers, guitars, the nice pedal effects that are used there. A great track all in all. It might not stand out from the pack big time, and that is a problem that I have with You or Someone Else, but rest assured, this is one of the better tracks here. Towards the end of this record, we're still getting some absolute jams and bops, and I find myself really tapping along to cuts like Paris and then Brooklyn, two cities straight back to back, and I know people are going to be like, oh, Paris, the 1975 already did that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the 1975 had a copyright on a city. But hey, if you want to find love, you know where the city is. Speaking of the 1975, the track Say No More, while I like it, it definitely is the ultimate 1975 worship. Down from the drums and the synthesizers and that bass groove that opens things up, it really reminded me of some cuts from the self-titled 1975 effort, and it's not a condemnation and a judgment upon Fickle Friends, it's a little bit too similar for me, so it kind of takes away from the enjoyment. And in terms of other tracks that I really don't get with that much on this LP, I don't care for the opening and closing cuts here, which is kind of a shame and kind of odd. Wake Me Up starts things off, and it has kind of a weird blend of synthesizers, and I don't feel like the vocals fit the melodies all that well, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition where I find myself scratching my head like, I should like this, but I'm really not all that into it. Then with Useless closing things out, I find myself kind of lost in confusion over the lyrics. It's not like they're bad or anything. It's like I don't feel like we're really getting a true end to the album or any resolutions when there's a lot of stories that have been told here, and I feel like we kind of got connected on an emotional level. It's just like a friend saying, all right, bye, at the end of the record, and that was it, and we go right back into it. Other than that, there's really not a ton of other things that I can say about this record. There's great cuts sprinkled all throughout. I already mentioned a lot of tracks. I also really dig Hello Hello. That one's got kind of a slow burn to it because it takes a while to get to the chorus, but once we do get there, it's definitely worth it in my opinion, and very catchy, very danceable. In fact, this record in general is made for like a summer night's dance floor. I had fun kind of grooving to this one, and I'm not gonna lie, I got up and I did some very embarrassing dancing to some of these tunes. Maybe it was because I was trying to get my exercise in for the day. Maybe it was just because I was feeling the album that much. This is all just my opinion though. I would love to know what you guys think about the debut album You Are Someone Else by Fickle Friends, the indie pop, indie rock, alternative band. Let me know in the comment section down below. Drop a like on the video, and if you haven't heard this record yet, do yourself a favor, pick it up on any streaming site or purchase it for yourself if you like it enough. I know I'm ordering myself a copy. Me personally, I am going with a 4 out of 5 for the debut album by Fickle Friends. If you're able to support what I do on the channel on Patreon on a monthly basis, then you can click that top link down below to donate, or else the annotation over in the corner of your screen. If you would like to see another under-the-radar review for a band that you might enjoy, Teenage Wrist, then tap right over here, or another recent video I did on the channel right over here. All of my social media accounts are linked in the description down below, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.